What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to at least triple your reply rate using a system in make.com. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to web scrape a URL that's associated to a lead. This can be like their company's website, their company's, LinkedIn, or even their personal LinkedIn, really any URL associated with that individual. So we're going to web scrape it, and then we're going to feed it through ChatGPT to make some hyper personalized outreach or proposal gen, really anything that you want, like a one-liner or an icebreaker, which is going to significantly increase your revenue because you're getting so many reply rates. Now, this video is coming from a community request. It was a comment on the Google Forms video I did maybe 2 weeks ago. And they were saying, can you make a video about the continuation of the web scraping that you mentioned? Because I said that you could feed in a URL from a Google Forms and do this process. So that's the first system we're going to build. The second is going to be from a lead list and then doing some automated outreach. I'm going to show you both. If those sound like something that you want to build, then you're in the right place because we're going to start right now. Okay, so for this first system with Google Forms, basically what we want to do is create a new form inside of Google Forms. And, we can just name this like company or web scrape demo, I guess. But essentially, the things that we want to actually make this hyper personalized is obviously if you're receiving an email, you're probably not going to respond to it if it's just pitching an offer. But if they had your name, your company info, with like a personalized icebreaker about, achievements along your career, you're much, much more likely to respond to it. Just think about it. So in our first question, I'm going to say, what is your name? Because the two things that we want to use is their name and then a personalized icebreaker. What is your name? And we can feed both into ChatGPT. So I'm going to have a short answer here, and then they'll be able to put in their name. And then I'm going to add a step, and then it's going to be paragraph. You can't force them to use a URL, I don't think. You can do that on Typeform. Let me know in the comments, please, because that could be really useful inside of Google Forms. I don't think you can force them to put in a URL, but what I'm going to say is, what is your company website? Okay, so we can set up a filter in Make. We'll probably do that if it contains an HTTPS or something. But basically, here they're going to put their name, here they're going to put their URL. That's the long and short of it. Okay, so I'm going to leave the link to this code snippet in the description because I don't think I did that in the last video, Epic Noob Moment. But basically, what this code does is we're going to plug it into the script editor, and it's essentially going to send the info that we fill out as soon as it's filled out to a webhook. And this is good because it means we can get instant responses. And as you probably know, if you come over to make.com and you log in, and we're just going to create a new scenario, we can add instant webhooks that are just going to trigger as soon as they're activated or receive info, I guess. We're just going to add a custom webhook. I'm going to add one. I'm going to call this web scrape demo. I'm going to save it. And then if I copy this address to the clipboard and I run this once, and I literally just go to this URL and click enter, it is accepted. And if I go to make, you can see it instantly got triggered. So I'm just going to put these side by side. Just got my everything up here. I'm just going to put this over here. I'm going to run this once. I'm going to reload this. You can see it's literally immediate so that we get the answers in as fast as possible. So now that we have that copied, or we have it created, I guess, you don't necessarily have to copy it yet. We're just going to come over to the code snippet that I'll leave in the description. You just want to copy all of this, okay? And then inside of the Google form that you created, it doesn't really matter what kind of form you made. You can do this with any. It'll just trigger the webhook as soon as it's done. We're just going to click these three little dots at the top right, and you will want to make sure you're signed in. This Google account is the same as your Google profile account. So just click these three dots and go to script editor. Okay. This will take a second to load. And then we're just going to backspace all this, paste this in, and then you see here where it says var post underscore URL. This is just the URL it's posting to. So just go back into make.com, and you can hook this up to whatever scenario you want because it'll receive all the info from our form. We're just going to copy this address, right? And then we're going to come over to where it says enter your webhook URL. We're going to backspace that, and then just paste in our URL, and that should honestly be good to go. So if I click on save, this should be good to go. And then triggers. So honestly, I don't know if we have to do this or not. I'm honestly just going to test it. So if I publish this, and then I'm going to copy this link. Then I'm going to come over to here. Whoops. Copy link. Okay, I go to here, open this up, and then I'm gonna run this scenario. So I'm gonna just test filling this out. I'm gonna say Paul, and I'm just gonna grab my website. Okay, then I'm gonna paste it in there, submit. Let's see. Okay, looks like we need to set up a trigger. So we're just gonna go to here, and we're gonna click on add trigger. This is the function we want to run that we just created. And then we want to do select event type on form submit so that as soon as we submit the form, it just goes ahead and sends it over. And then, yeah, this should all be good to go. I think that's all we have to change. Yeah, I believe so. So if I just click on save, this ought to be ready as soon as it finishes here. Loading data. Please check the pop-up blocker. Oh, top right here. Always allow pop-ups. Done. Save. Probably gonna have us log in or something. Yeah, okay. So just make sure you don't have pop-ups blocked. I'm gonna click on advanced. Go to untitled project. I'm gonna allow it. You just have to do a bit of special stuff for this custom code. Okay, let me make sure that notification didn't mess me up. Okay, cool. So this should be good to go. If I just go to deploy, or wait, let's go back to our Google form. Okay, and this ought to be good to go. If I run this, execution started, execution. Okay, cool. So yeah, now we have that and we have the info that we put in. I'll just show you guys this once more. Submit another response. I'm gonna put in my name, Paul, and then I'm gonna put in my website. Yes. I'm gonna copy this and paste it in here. You can see we've got the info now. What is your name? What is your company website? This is all good. And if we wanted to, just to make this more simple, we could just set some variables, and this way we could also set up a filter. So I'm just gonna set up these variables, right? And this is kind of like the mappable answers from Typeform. They're gonna come in as the like question is labeled. That's kind of a weird way to do it. If you want to, this is just for convenience. I'm gonna say name, and then I'm gonna put in the variable here. So if I give this a run, right, and we'll say I filled out my name in the form, it's gonna set my name to name. It just looks better instead of what is your name? It's just easier. So I'm just gonna add another item. Variable name is gonna be URL, and then instead of what is company or website, it's just gonna put this in. Put this in there. That all should be good to go. So that we can save some operations, you're obviously going to run one every time the Google form is triggered. I'm just going to set up a filter. I'm going to say contains a URL. The condition is going to be what is your company website, and then this should contain we'll say https:// okay. So if I click on OK, it should only pass through here and actually start running the main part of our scenario, which is setting the variables, and then we'll send it over to ChatGPT. So I'm just going to copy this responder link again. I should have left this open. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to start filling this out. I'm going to test it without like a valid. It's not going to contain like HTTPS. So this is what we have to have in order for it to actually come through so that we can web scrape it. That we don't, like, it'll mess up our scenario if we try and web scrape something that's not a website. And get some errors. Let's see. Nice. Okay. So I got that set up first try. Nice. Okay. So the filter actually stopped it because we didn't have an HTTPS in. So that's good. And that is working. Okay. So now that we don't have to worry, I'm just going to control S to save. Whoops. What the heck, man? Save. Control R. Sorry. A lot of stuff copied there for some reason. Okay. So this is good to go now. It's only going to pass through if we have a URL on there. That's an alternative to using Typeform. I don't know how to make it force a URL in Google Forms. But basically the way we're going to web scrape is using an HTTP make a request. So if you don't know what web scraping is, it basically just pulls all the HTML from whatever URL we're feeding it in. So in this case, we're just going to feed it in the person's website for the Google Forms example. So it's just going to be an HTTP request. So you can just find that, add a module, HTTP, scroll down to make a request. And then in the URL we want to feed in, I'm just going to feed in URL. So remember, this is only in a web scrape if it contains a URL, which is great. The method is going to be get, and I believe you can leave this as is. So if you want to, you can toggle this as immediately as data arrives, so you don't have to click, keep clicking run once. So you can actually just leave this, and you would never have to come back to it if this is all you want to do. It's just web scrape and do nothing with it. But basically, I am going to run this once, and then I'm going to submit another response. Then I'm going to say Paul, and then I'm going to say www.hbsautomations.com. Oh, it's got to contain https:// submit. Let's see. You can see it pass through, and then we actually web scraped and got all this HTML back. Okay, so this is massive. We obviously don't want to feed this into ChatGPT and use $100. So, yeah, the sample, all this good stuff, it was good. Basically, we want to just parse this HTML, right, to text so that it's actually usable. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And there's a model literally called that. So if you just come down here to your toolbar, you can just select HTML to text. It's also in the modules. Just go down to text parser and grab an HTML to text. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to drag this up. I'm going to auto align this. And then in text parser, the HTML that we want, I'll show you what this means, but we're going to click on data from HTTP. So the data in a make a request module is essentially what it brings back. So if we go to here and we go to output, just a little beginner's tip, or just a tip. Every module in make.com has an input and an output. So that's what I'm going to show you real quick. So the input, we put in URL, and then it just put in all this good stuff. And then the data output, we got like some headers and whatnot. But in the output, we got a bunch of HTML. So that's just what we're feeding in here. It's just the HTML. Okay. So if I was to just run this again, we're going to get screamed at because the transformer shouldn't be the last one. I'm going to click run anyways. I'm going to submit another response. I'm going to do Paul. I'm going to do https://www.hbsautomations.com. And then I'm going to submit this, and it should contain a URL. And then we should get back this text. Okay. So you can see, instead of all of this, craziness of HTML code and pixel size and all that stuff that we don't want, we simply get back some text. And this is actually usable if we want to feed it to ChatGPT, which we do. So basically, what do we have in our scenario right now? Well, we have a name, and we now have some company info. So what do we want to do with this? I don't know why this is still pinging. Save this anyways. That's just kind of annoying. So you can actually feed this into ChatGPT. If you join my free community, I actually show you how to use the Olama modules inside of make.com for free. I'll leave the link to the free Discord. It's a great alternative if you have like literally no money to put into ChatGPT. You can just use it for free inside of make.com. So just go check that out. Discord is free. Link will be in the description. So basically, after we parse this to text, right, we want to feed it to ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using. You use Claude, whatnot, I'm just going to go to ChatGPT, create a completion, basically how you get your API for this. You go to platform.openai.com, log in. I don't know why I'm not logged in. That doesn't make any sense. I go to here. And let's see. So if we go to settings at the top right, come down here to API keys and just create a new API key. Just add a few dollars to your billing and you're good to go. So just copy that API key and then add a connection and then paste it in there. And then in general, copy this organization ID and paste it in here, and you will be good to go. You'll get the same interface I have. So for this, I'm just going to use GPT-4o system. Okay. And we're going to give it a system prompt that tells it to create us like a one-line icebreaker, basically. So this isn't as practical of a use, basically. You'd want to do something with like a proposal gen icebreaker, and then you could feed that into like a Google Slides. But I just wanted to show this first example because it was community requested. I'm going to show you guys in just a second how to do this from a lead list, which would be more practical for outreach. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to click on system, and then for the text content, I'm going to say your job is to take a company web scrape and create a one line icebreaker to the individual. And end it in some form of figured I'd reach out. And then we're gonna say, what rules do we give it? Spartan tone of voice. Hold on. Tone of voice. Spartan tone of voice. We'll say, one sentence max. Friendly. And then we're gonna say the company web scrape as well as the individual's name will be provided. I'll put only the icebreaker. Okay, so this prompt will be in the blueprint, which will be free down in the description. But basically, we're going to add a message, and then the role is going to be user, and then we're just going to input our variables. So we're going to say name, and then hold on, just say name, and then we'll put in this variable, and then the text is going to be web scrape colon text. So this text is where we get the web scrape inside of text. That's in text format, basically. So what this should do is it should receive our webhook, right? It's going to set some variables. It's going to make sure it has a URL, all that good stuff. Then it's going to web scrape and transform it to text and then feed this through ChatGPT to create an icebreaker. What we want to do then is I'm just going to add an email module just to show you guys how this is so cool. I'm just going to go to email and I'm going to do send an email and then just connect your account. I'm going to do this, continue, got to update some perms. I'm going to sign in with this. This should all be good to go. Okay, and so the two, we're going to actually have the person fill out the email. So I'm just going to go to forms. Let me log in with the right account real quick. Do this. And then we'll add another question and we will say, what is your email? And then if you wanted to, you could verify this too. We're just gonna drag this down to here. Okay, cool. And then save. This should be good to go. If I open up this and go to here, we have the email. Okay, cool. So now that this is all good to go, what we want to do is just, we're going to need to run this once to actually get those things in here, or the email in here. So I'm just going to put in my name. Let me speed run this. Let me say, okay. Let me say, okay, do www.submit. And we're going to get back email. So I'm just going to put this inside of another set of variables. So variable name is going to be email. And then I'm going to put in the email. And then if you wanted to, you could just unlink this, have it go to, well, no, you'd probably want it all in the same flow. But basically, you could send this to Never Bounce or like Million Verifier or something and just verify the email, just input the variable. And if it is valid, then you would web scrape and start doing all this. Just setting up filters is a great way to save a bunch of operations inside of Make. So, but basically inside of the send email, the email address too is just going to be, I need to probably delete this module, don't I? Let me unlink this, link it. Let's see if it's popping up now. Yeah, it is. Okay. So the 2 is going to be here, and then I'm going to input email as a variable. It's empty for some reason, but yeah, the subject is going to be quick queue, and then we're going to put in name. Okay. And then I'm going to say the content is going to be plain text, I guess. And I'm going to say, hey, and then we'll input result because ChatGPT should only output our icebreaker. And that should be good. So in this example, I'm going to put in my email, my website, all that good stuff, my name, and then it's going to run through all this and hopefully send us a great email. So I'm going to open this up just to show you guys like a real time how long this actually takes. I'm going to open up my email to the side here. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open this down here. And then we're going to go to here. Sorry. And then here. Okay. So basically, let's go to here. Let's reload this. Let's close this. And then let's run this once. And that should be good to go. So if I start filling this out and I say Paul, and then I say vipxdeal@gmail.com. Oops. And then I say https://www.hbsautomations.com. And then I submit this. Let's watch it go through our flow. Oh, build to verify Microsoft. Oh, dude, I selected the wrong account. My bad. Let's do this. It should work now. That is my bad. We're just going to run this once and retry it. RIP. Paul, let's do email, vipxdeal@gmail.com. And we're going to do https://www.hbsautomations.com and then submit. And our webhook is going to trigger. We have a URL and you can see it's just flying through this scenario. If I reload this, we immediately have, hey, Paul. Oh, what did we get to? Let's just backspace this because it already put in it for our icebreaker. But basically, if I didn't put in the name variable, it wouldn't have my name twice. It's going to say, hey, Paul is a fellow growth-minded individual. The power of automated systems at HBS Automation caught my attention, so I figured I'd reach out. That's great, and that alone is probably going to triple your reply rates without anything else. So that is just a quick and simple way to web scrape off of a Google form and just absolutely kill it with like proposals. And let's get into the next system, which is going to be some automated email outreach with personalization to absolutely skyrocket your revenue. Okay, guys, so here I've created a new make.com scenario, and I'm just going to go over to Google Sheets real quick. Whoops, close this, open this. Google Sheets, and I'm going to just create a new spreadsheet. We're going to make a couple of columns, right? I'm going to do first name, and then last name, and then, you know, company URL, and then like, I don't know, company name. So this is like kind of how an export from Phantom Buster looks. But basically you'd have a huge list of leads from this. And in this example, I'm just going to fill in the info with mine. Because I think I do have some lead sheets, but I'm not going to use those right now. But basically you can do this with as many people as you want. I'm just going to show you kind of more detailed how this looks. So I'm just going to put in some info. I'm going to say first name, Paul, last name, Piku. Company URL is going to be https://www.hbsautomations.com. So now we have that link in there, and I'll just say HBS. So this is all info that we can feed into ChatGPT for our personalization. So I'm just going to come back into make.com, go to Google Sheets. It's going to be the search rows module. Why am I skipping past it? And let me just connect the right account. And we're going to do the limit as 1. Just don't put a limit if you want all of them. Spreadsheet ID, you can either map this by going after the slash after the D, and then before the slash edit, just copy this, and then you would just paste it here. But you can also just select it by, what is it called? And then I'll just scroll up here. Should be it. And then I'm just going to grab the sheet 1. Cool. Again, you can map all this stuff if you need to. And then this should be all good. Okay. So if I just, okay, it's going to scream at us. Let me do this again. If I just run this once, you can see we get back the different variables in our output bundle. We have first name, last name, company URL, company name, all this good stuff. So I'm going to set up the same filter we did last time before we actually try and web scrape it. In this scenario, it actually comes through in like a pretty good format. We have, the names of the columns come through, so we don't actually have to do any set variables or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this HTTP request in order to web scrape it. What we want to put in is the company URL, and then the method is get, and you can just leave this as is. And then we'll just set up a filter, and then we'll say contains URL, condition, we'll do company URL, contains, we'll do https:// cool. We'll do that, and then it'll web scrape this company URL with however many leads that we need. I may do an example that has somebody else's website. And then we want to just drag this out to a text parser. It's going to be HTML to text. And then in here, we're just going to put this data. Okay, so I know we flew through that, but I'm just going to run this real quick and show you guys after it runs. We're going to get screamed at again. Boom, 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 boom. So what do? We brought back one lead because I set the limit to 1, and there's only one in this spreadsheet. So we got back a whole bunch of stuff. We got the first name, last name, company URL, company name. We got the row number, spreadsheet, all that good stuff. It did contain HTTPS. So then what we did is we actually web scraped all the HTML from that website, which was HBS Automations. And then you can see here, if we go into the output bundle and to data, we have a whole bunch of HTML. So what do we do with that HTML? We feed it into a text parser. The HTML comes up in the data from the HTTP make a request module. And then in the output of the text, we have all this good stuff. Cool. So what I actually want to do is I want to show you guys a cool little thing that you can do with Google Sheets. So I'll just say icebreaker. And what we can do is, since this is empty right now, after we do our ChatGPT thing, we're going to do update a row. And then what we can do is choose our spreadsheet ID. And then I'm just going to scroll down to, oh, it's up here. And then what I'm going to do, sheet name is sheet 1. And then we can actually just feed in this row number. So this will update every time that we run it, or like to the current, run, whichever lead it's on, it'll feed in this row number. And then if we scroll down here, you can see we actually have icebreaker. What we're going to feed in is the result from ChatGPT. So let me just unlink this and we'll set that up in just a second. This is going to be really cool. So I'm just going to feed this into ChatGPT now, right? So let me come back to our other scenario that we built just a second ago. Let me log in. Go to scenarios. Okay, it's probably going to be weird. That's all good. Forgot what I named it. So we're just going to go to create a completion and then just connect your account. I showed how to do that earlier. And then the module we're going to use is GPT-4o model, not module, sorry. So in the system, I'm just going to say your job is to take, I don't remember what my prompt was earlier, but I'll try and make it similar. Your job is to take a web scrape from a company's website and make a personalized icebreaker that ends in some form of figured I'd reach out. So this is really good for the lead list build that we're doing right now. I don't know how well this would work for forms. Basically, I did forms earlier just to show that, like, how to do that for a web scrape. You'd want to integrate that more with proposal systems, which I should probably make a video about. But basically, this is really good. This is what's really going to like triple your reply rates and, make you thousands of dollars. So basically, after we say figured I'd reach out, or that'll be after we say everything. So it's going to end in that, and then I'll just give it some rules. Rules. 1 sentence max, no emojis, a Spartan tone of voice, the web scrape, and the person's name will be provided. Okay. And then we would just want to, so the system is just like what its task is or who it is. So we're not going to give it a who it is. It's just give it an instruction. And then we're just going to add a message. And if we wanted to, we could train it with like the user assistant method. So you just add user and then you would like simulate it. You plug in a bunch of HTML. Like we could just copy this web scrape and then put in my name and then write like an example that we would want based on, if we actually know what company we're targeting. And then we do an assistant of our wanted output. But for this example, I'm just going to set some labels. I'm going to say name, and then I'm going to feed in, we'll just do the first name because that's going to be better. And then I'll say web scrape, and that's going to be in our text parser module. So I'm just going to select text, and then this is actually good to go for now. So I'm just going to do this. And then now we can hook this back up, I believe. Should pop up in here. So if I go down to icebreaker, we're just going to plug in the result. Probably need to do a little bit of prompting and tell it to only output that, because sometimes it'll be like, yeah, certainly, here's your, and you don't want that to pop up in an email. So I'm going to say output only the icebreaker. Okay. Yeah, I need to, okay, one sentence max, output only guys. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we have our rules set up. Everything honestly should be good to go. So let me just run through this and make sure it works. We're web scraping successfully. If I come into here, you can see, I see HBS automation, or hi Paul, I see HBS automations help CEOs unlock high growth ROI growth systems, help CEOs unlock high ROI growth systems. So I figured I'd reach out. That's good. So you can see we successfully updated that row. So what have we done? We've pulled a lead, right? And if I want to, like, you could literally do this with thousands of leads as long as you have enough operations to make. But basically, we're web scraping the company URL, or you could do this with your personal LinkedIn too. And then we're web scraping it, we're parsing it to text, and then we're generating an icebreaker from that text. So it has some info about our company. And then we're just feeding that back into our Google Sheets. What you could also do is, if I go to instantly, do I have an account on here? Add new lead, do a campaign. Okay, so basically you come over to instantly and then you just set up your connection and you would just like do watch updates, or you could honestly just add it straight from here instead of adding it to Google Sheets, or you could do both. What we can also do is after we add a row, we could add another column that says contacted. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll say no, because we haven't contacted them yet. And you can imagine if you had a big list of these, they'd all have no, 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 no. And then what you can do is unlink this. Let me just also this to email. Grab an email module, send an email, just connect the account you want to use. Change this to this one. Oh, wait, no. This one. The 2 is just going to be, we need their email address. So I'm just going to move this to here. Contacted. Sorry, my A button is broken. Contacted. We'll do email here. Cool. And then I'll just do this, and then this, and then we'll feed in an email. Say vipxdeal@gmail.com. Okay. After we do all that, we have their first name, last name, a URL, their company name, the icebreaker that we just generated, the email to contact, and if we've contacted them. So this update row is actually going to be after everything, I feel like. It's kind of like a receipt on every operation, what we did, who we contacted, when, where. We could even add the date, say date contacted. And then I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But right now, what we want to do is just set up this email, the email address. I'll probably get on, link this, or just run this only. Run this only, go back to email, connect. The 2, let me change this again. Here, the 2 is going to be the email. Where is it? Let us see. Doesn't look like it came through. That's weird. Unlink. Boom. Give me just a second. Let me just delete this real quick. Add another email module. Send an email. It's weird. It's being strange. Here. Am I tripping, man? Okay, I just don't think it has it labeled right. So you can see here we have email. I'm just gonna select this column. It's weird that it's not coming through. But basically we're gonna feed that in, and then the subject is just gonna be quick Q. It's always intriguing, and then we'll just feed in first name from here, and then the content will just be this icebreaker, and then I'll just set this plain text. And if you wanted to, you could add some attachments and yeah, whatnot. Let me change this result. Okay, so I'm just gonna click on OK, and then when we want to, what we want to update is we want to go into here. Let me unlink this. I mean, you could do it without columns being labeled, obviously. Yeah, we'll just do that. So F is email. So that's already in there. So we just want to change contacted to yes. And then date contacted, which is row number H, we will just feed in now, I believe. Yeah. Let me see. Let's do, can I do this? I think if we do now, it should just do, maybe set day. Reduce that. Maybe that. Okay. So we'll just use now for now. So what this is going to do is it's going to update our rows here, or our columns, sorry. We're going to have our icebreaker in here. We're going to have our contacted status and when we contacted them. So I'm just going to click on OK. And if I run this once, we're actually going to get sent the email. And then we have the date and time that we were contacted. You probably want to format this a little bit better. And then we have yes. So let me just show you guys. If I just take out all this stuff and let me just set this to no. I'm going to run this side by side as well as with the email. So let me just go to the account. Go down to here and then leave. And then we have, yeah, I got the email up here, but let me just show you guys how fast this will work. I'm going to go to here, here, and then down to here. And let me just run this once. Okay, so after it sends the email, you, just to make sure that we don't, change stuff that isn't true. We have contacted, yes, date contacted. If I go to here, impressive how HBS automations helped a client scale 6 figures annually with your automation expertise. Figured I'd reach out. So it's successfully scraped our company's website because it had a URL, and then it updated this and sent them an email. And again, you could add this to your outreach, program like Instantly or something, anything like that. This will guarantee you. I mean, if you see this versus, hey, here's what we do, we think it can help your company, even though we don't know what your company is. That's how you can easily triple reply rates in just like a 10-minute setup. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. This will make you a ton more money if you don't have it implemented. So just implement it. It's free. And yeah, let me know what other videos you want. This was, again, a community request. So just let me know what to make next, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.